I really do think that I would be in much different shape, in a much different condition, if I didn't spend as much time as I do rehabbing at Sheltering Arms. Before my injury, I was very much your typical kid. Went to school, made sure I got good enough grades not to get hounded by my parents, chased girls, and wanted to have a good time with my friends, just like any other 16-year-old boy. And all that changed on a summer day in 2011 when I went to the James River with a few of my friends. About halfway through the day, we were crossing the river back to our little makeshift campsite, and because the water was pretty fast flowing through here, I wanted to dive in to get some momentum. I was a strong swimmer, but it was important to get across because there was another set of rapids not far away downstream. And if you get to those, I mean, you're in some trouble. So I dove in and I hit a rock just below the surface. Because of that, I was instantly a quadriplegic. I broke my C5 and C6 vertebrae, and I could no longer use my hands, my arms, my legs, my trunk, pretty much everything. Fortunately, my friend who was straggling behind on the way back saw that I was floating face down and saw the blood around me. He said it reminded him of a scene from Jaws. He jumped in and pulled me out and saved my life. And then I went to VCU, and at VCU they saved my life a second time. When I broke my neck that day, I very quickly went from an easy life to a very, very difficult life. And those early days in the hospital were unbelievably dark. I didn't know what to do with myself. I couldn't imagine a life bereft of the activities I loved, like sports and chasing girls and having fun with friends. I couldn't see my life without those things. And so I kind of just wanted to say, you know what? I don't really know if this is worth continuing. I asked my brother if he would just end it for me, and luckily he didn't, or not luckily, gratefully he didn't, and so I'm still here today. I was so exhausted after a few days of being in that space, that mental space, that eventually I allowed myself to consider some of the positives, which were that I was still alive in the first place. I have no brain damage. I'm still myself. I still have a huge system of support around me that I can lean on. There were some miracles that were happening in that situation, and so I took those positives and flipped that mindset from despair to, all right, let's get after it. This is my situation now. I got to deal with this, so what are we going to do? And what we had to do was go out of state because we were told the best spinal cord injury rehab and research was not in Richmond. And that was a very, very difficult decision for my family. There was some turmoil and conflict. Here I was a 16-year-old with a strong, tight-knit group of friends who, after having just seen me almost die, now have to see me leave. And they don't get to be there and be part of the healing process. But that was the choice we had to make, and so that's what we did. For about 122 days, I was gone rehabbing, learning things like brushing my teeth again, learning how to transfer, trying to rebuild some strength because I went from 180 pounds to 130 pounds in about a month, feeding myself, putting a shirt on. I mean, literally the most simple of activities. It was a long time before I was home, and even though my friends and family would visit me, it was really hard as a 16-year-old at the lowest point in their life to be so far away from everything they're familiar with. About 122 days later, I came home. Obviously, I still needed to rehab, and so I found Sheltering Arms. And I'm so glad that we did, because Sheltering Arms has been huge in my life ever since then. For the past 8 years, I've been going to Sheltering Arms with their team at NeuroFit and even some outpatient stuff. Quadriplegics don't often go that long without having some sort of issues, and the fact that I haven't, I give Sheltering Arms a lot of credit for that, because I mean, I really do think that I would be in much different shape, in a much different condition, if I didn't spend as much time as I do rehabbing at Sheltering Arms. Coming home and seeing what Sheltering Arms is capable of, and then comparing that to what I had to go out of state to get, I already know that we have all the pieces here to do what they're doing there. We just need the right therapeutic tool, and that's what the Sheltering Arms Institute is going to be. And people like me wouldn't have to leave their families, leave their friends behind, and after such a tragedy, they could stay right here in Richmond, they could stay at home. I can't tell you how excited I am. As someone who visits with patients, I'm thrilled that I'm going to be able to tell people that you get to stay right here and receive world-class therapy right here. Awesome. That's awesome. While I was gone, while I was out of state, my community did a lot to help me get set up. After receiving all of that, support for so long, I kind of felt guilty in a way, and like I needed to find a way to give back. I know that I would never be able to equal what support was shown to me, but I wanted to try. And so that's, like I mentioned earlier, like I started visiting patients with VCU, and I got involved with the Sheltering Arms Foundation. I was their intern, and that was really awesome. I felt like I was part of the team, and I'm not alone in that. We want everybody to be part of our team. We want everybody to be involved with the Sheltering Arms Institute and go tell the world about the future of rehab in Richmond, Virginia. I'm Cole Sydnor. I broke my neck about 8 years ago, had to go out of state to receive rehab, and so I'm thrilled that Sheltering Arms Institute is going to change that and keep people like me at home with their family and loved ones.